The moment Michael Reed stepped into the sleek Seattle office of Horizon Advertising, he felt a surge of possibility. At 35, he landed a senior marketing role, a chance to prove himself in a new city. His first day was a blur of handshakes and emails, but one encounter stood out. Tom Clark, a new hire in the creative department, who greeted him with a grin and a quick quip about the Seahawks' last game. Michael laughed, instantly at ease. By lunch, they were trading stories over sandwiches, bonding over their love for 80s rock and pickup basketball. It was rare to click with someone so fast, and Michael, who'd always trusted his gut about people, felt he'd found a friend. Their camaraderie grew effortlessly. Tom was the guy who'd toss a basketball across the office to lighten the mood, always ready with a joke or a playlist recommendation. Michael, naturally generous, started inviting Tom to after-work drinks, sharing his favorite craft beer spots in Capitol Hill. They'd bet on game scores, argue over Springsteen's best album, and plan weekend outings. Their colleagues noticed, teasing them about being work brothers. Michael didn't mind. He hadn't had a friend like this in years. At home, Michael's wife, Emily, was thrilled. Married for 7 years, their life had settled into a comfortable routine, and she craved new energy. "You're glowing when you talk about Tom," she said one evening, chopping vegetables for dinner. "Invite him and his wife over. Let's make it a thing." Michael loved her enthusiasm. Emily was the planner, always organizing game nights or potlucks, and he could already picture her charming Tom's wife, Kate, with her warmth. They set a date for a Saturday dinner, and Emily dove into preparations, curating a menu of pasta and tiramisu, humming as she worked. The night of the dinner, Michael was buzzing with excitement. He and Emily had spent the day tidying their cozy townhouse, and the smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. When the doorbell rang, Michael opened it to Tom and Kate, who held a bottle of Pinot Noir. "Hope this pairs with Emily's cooking," Tom said with a wink. Michael laughed, ushering them in. But as Emily stepped forward to greet them, something shifted. Her smile froze, her hand pausing midair. For a split second, her eyes locked on Tom, wide with something Michael couldn't place. Shock, recognition, maybe fear. She recovered quickly, shaking Kate's hand and thanking them for the wine, but Michael caught the tremor in her voice. The evening unfolded with lively chatter. Tom shared a story about a disastrous camping trip, making Kate laugh so hard she nearly spilled her drink. Emily joined in, asking about their travels, but Michael kept glancing at her. Her laughs seemed forced, her gestures stiff. When she poured wine, her hand shook slightly. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe she was nervous about hosting. But deep down, a nagging unease took root. After Tom and Kate left, Michael helped clear the table. As Emily stacked plates, he asked casually, "You okay?" "You seemed off when they arrived." She brushed it off with a laugh. "Just a dizzy spell. Long day." Her tone was light, but her eyes avoided his. Michael nodded, not wanting to push, but the moment lingered in his mind like a shadow. He'd always trusted Emily, just as he trusted his instincts about Tom. But now, for the first time, he wondered if his gut had led him astray. The weeks following the dinner felt like a delicate balancing act for Michael Reed. His friendship with Tom Clark remained a bright spot. Lunch breaks filled with debates over classic rock bands and plans for a group outing to a Seahawks game. Tom's easygoing charm was infectious, always pulling Michael into lighthearted bets or sharing stories about his college days in Portland. But the memory of Emily's frozen expression that night gnawed at Michael. He tried to dismiss it, chalking it up to nerves or a fleeting moment, but her quick deflection, just a dizzy spell, rang hollow. At home, Emily was her usual warm self, planning their next barbecue with Tom and Kate, laughing about Kate's quirky sense of humor. Yet Michael couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Their social life as a foursome blossomed. The couples met for trivia nights at a local pub, where Tom's quick wit earned them a win, and a spontaneous hike near Lake Tahoe, where Emily and Kate bonded over a shared love of photography. Michael watched Emily closely during these outings. She seemed engaged, tossing playful jabs at Tom about his terrible sense of direction, but there was a subtle edge to her interactions, a hesitation in her laugh, a glance that lingered too long. Michael told himself he was overthinking it. After all, Emily was the one pushing for these get-togethers, texting Kate to coordinate plans, suggesting a group cooking class. But the unease persisted, a quiet hum in the back of his mind. One Monday morning, Michael arrived at Horizon Advertising to find Tom's desk empty. "He's at a doctor's appointment," their boss, Sarah, said casually when Michael asked. The words hit him like a jolt. Emily had mentioned that morning she was heading to a routine checkup before work. The coincidence felt too sharp to ignore. He tried to focus on his emails, but his thoughts spiraled. Portland. Tom had mentioned growing up there, same as Emily. Michael hadn't pressed for details before, but now he replayed their conversations. Tom had talked about late-night hangs at a diner on Burnside Street, a place Emily once said she loved as a teen. The overlap was uncanny. At lunch, Michael steered the conversation carefully when Tom returned. "So, Portland, huh? Ever miss it?" he asked, keeping his tone light. Tom grinned, launching into a story about sneaking into concerts at a local venue. "There was this one spot, Voodoo Donut, where we'd all end up at 2 a.m., he said. Michael's stomach tightened. Emily had a story about Voodoo Donut, too, from her college days. He nodded, forcing a smile, but his mind raced. Why hadn't either of them mentioned this before? Had they known each other back then? That evening, Michael watched Emily as she scrolled through her phone, curled up on the couch. "How was your appointment?" he asked, keeping his voice neutral. She glanced up, her fingers pausing. "Oh, fine. Just a checkup. Nothing exciting." Her answer was quick, almost rehearsed. Michael pressed gently. "Run into anyone you know?" She shook her head, a bit too fast, and changed the subject to a new project at work. The dodge was subtle, but it landed like a brick. Michael didn't push further, but he started paying closer attention. He noticed Emily's phone was always face down now, a new habit. When she talked about their plans with Tom and Kate, she referred to Tom vaguely, your buddy or the guy from work, never by name. Days later, another coincidence sharpened his suspicions. Emily mentioned a last-minute meeting that would keep her late. That same morning, Tom was absent again, this time for personal errands, according to a coworker. Michael's pulse quickened. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the pattern was impossible to ignore. On a whim, he checked Emily's location on their shared app, something they'd set up for convenience during busy weeks. Her phone showed her at a coffee shop downtown, not her office. Michael stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the call button. He didn't press it. Instead, he texted, "How's the meeting going?" Her reply came minutes later. Asterisk running late. Be home soon. Asterisk no mention of where she was. The next day, Michael pulled Tom aside during a coffee break. "You ever run into an old friend from Portland?" he asked, watching Tom's reaction. Tom shrugged, sipping his coffee. "Not really. Been a while since I've been back." His casual tone didn't waver, but his eyes flicked away for a split second. Michael's instinct screamed that something was being hidden. He started piecing things together. The shared hometown, the simultaneous absences, Emily's odd behavior. Each clue felt like a thread pulling at the fabric of his trust. By the end of the week, Michael's patience was fraying. He didn't want to accuse without proof, but the weight of doubt was suffocating. He decided to test the waters one last time. At a team happy hour, he casually mentioned to Tom, "Emily's been swamped lately. Said she had a meeting at some coffee shop downtown yesterday." Tom's smile faltered just for a moment before he recovered with a nod. "Yeah, work's been crazy for all of us." The response was smooth, but Michael caught the slight tension in his jaw. That night, as he lay awake next to Emily, her steady breathing a contrast to his racing thoughts, Michael made a choice. He wouldn't confront her yet. He'd watch, listen, and wait for the truth to surface, because something told him it was closer than he wanted to believe. Michael Reed's days had become a tightrope walk between routine and suspicion. His friendship with Tom Clark still held its surface charm. Shared laughs over coffee breaks, plans for a group kayaking trip, but the cracks were widening. Emily's strange reaction at the dinner, the eerie coincidences of their absences, and the shared Portland past weighed on Michael like a storm cloud. He wasn't the type to leap to accusations, but the clues were piling up, each one chipping away at the trust he'd once held unquestioned. He needed answers, not guesses, and he was determined to get them without tipping his hand. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Emily left early, saying she had a breakfast meeting with a client. Michael nodded, but his gut twisted as he watched her grab her keys and rush out. At Horizon Advertising, Tom's desk was empty again. Out for a personal matter, A coworker shrugged when Michael asked. The pattern was too precise to be chance. He opened the location-sharing app on his phone, heart pounding as it loaded. Emily's dot blinked at a cafe in Belltown, nowhere near her office. Michael's fingers tightened around his phone. He texted her, "How's the meeting?" Her reply was swift but curt. Asterisk fine. Running late. Asterisk, no mention of the cafe. Michael's mind raced. He didn't want to be the paranoid husband, but the pieces were aligning too neatly. He decided to dig deeper, starting with Tom. During a quiet moment in the office, he pulled Tom aside, keeping his tone casual. "You ever hang out at that old diner on Burnside in Portland? Emily used to love it back in college." Tom's smile stiffened, his eyes darting to the side. Yeah, maybe once or twice," he said, quickly shifting to a story about a work project. The deflection was subtle, but unmistakable. Michael's suspicion hardened into certainty. Tom was hiding something. That evening, Emily was chatty, talking about her day as she chopped vegetables for dinner. But Michael noticed her phone, face down as always, buzzing with a notification she ignored. He waited until she stepped out to take a call, then glanced at her screen. A message from an unsaved number. Asterisk, same spot tomorrow, 10 a.m. Asterisk, his pulse spiked. He didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he started cross-referencing their schedules. The next morning, Emily mentioned another early meeting. When Michael arrived at work, Tom was absent again, this time with no explanation. Michael's patience snapped. He drove to the Belltown Cafe, parking across the street. Through the window, he saw Emily sitting at a corner table, her posture tense. Across from her was Tom, leaning forward, talking quietly. They weren't touching, but their familiarity was unmistakable, a shared ease that went beyond casual coffee. Michael's chest tightened, anger mixing with betrayal. He didn't storm in. Instead, he snapped a photo through the window, his hands shaking, and drove back to work. The image burned in his mind, a silent accusation he couldn't ignore. Back at the office, Michael played it cool, joining Tom for a team meeting as if nothing had changed. But every word Tom spoke grated on him, each laugh a reminder of the deception. That night, he waited until Emily was in the shower to check her phone again. No messages from the unsaved number, but her social media showed a recent friend request from Tom, accepted weeks ago. Michael's stomach churned. He cross-checked the dates. Tom's friend request came days after their first dinner. Why hadn't Emily mentioned it? Why the secrecy? The next day, Michael took a bolder step. He called Kate, Tom's wife, under the pretense of planning a surprise group outing. "Hey, Kate, does Tom ever talk about his Portland days? Emily's got all these stories about her college hangouts there." Kate laughed, oblivious. "Oh, he's always nostalgic about Portland. Said he had a serious girlfriend back then. Broke his heart when it ended." Michael's blood ran cold. "Really? Did he say who?" Kate paused, her tone shifting. "No, just that it was intense." "Why do you ask?" Michael brushed it off, but the pieces were falling into place. That evening, he confronted Emily, keeping his voice steady. "I saw you at the cafe today. With Tom." Her face paled, her hands fumbling with her glass. "It was just coffee," she stammered. "We ran into each other." Michael held up his phone, showing the photo. "This doesn't look like a coincidence." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she doubled down. "You're overreacting. It's nothing." Michael pressed harder. "You knew him in Portland, didn't you? Were you together?" Emily looked away, her silence louder than any confession. Finally, she whispered, "It was a long time ago. We dated in college." "That's it." Michael's world tilted. The betrayal wasn't just in the present. It stretched back years, hidden in plain sight. He didn't yell. Instead, he grabbed his keys and left, needing air, needing space. As he walked Seattle's rain-slick streets, his phone buzzed. A text from Tom. "Asterisk, hey, you good? Missed you at the bar tonight." Asterisk, Michael stared at the message, his anger simmering. Tom's casual tone felt like a slap. He didn't reply. Tomorrow, he'd face them both, but this time, he'd have the truth. Michael Reed woke up with a clarity he hadn't felt in weeks. The rain-soaked streets of Seattle mirrored his mood, gray, heavy, but resolute. Emily's admission that she and Tom had dated in college was a jagged truth, but it wasn't enough. Her evasions, the cafe meeting, the unsaved number on her phone, they all pointed to a deeper betrayal. Michael wasn't ready to let it go. He needed the full story, no matter how much it hurt. Today, he would face both Emily and Tom, not as a friend or husband, but as someone demanding answers. He started with Tom. At Horizon Advertising, Michael caught him during a quiet moment in the break room. "We need to talk." "Now," Michael said, his voice low but firm. Tom's usual grin faltered, replaced by a wary nod. They stepped outside to a secluded corner of the office courtyard, the drizzle muffling their words. Michael didn't waste time. "I know you and Emily were together in Portland. I saw you two at the cafe yesterday. What's going on?" Tom's eyes widened, his hands fidgeting with his coffee cup. "It's not what you think," he started, but Michael cut him off. "Don't lie to me. I deserve the truth." Tom hesitated, then sighed, his shoulders slumping. "We ran into each other online a few weeks ago. Old feelings came up. We met for coffee to talk, that's it." Michael's jaw tightened. "That's it? You expect me to believe that?" Tom looked away, his silence damning. Michael didn't push further. He had enough to confront Emily. That evening, he waited until they were alone in their townhouse. The hum of the city outside a stark contrast to the tension inside. Emily was washing dishes, her movements deliberate, as if avoiding eye contact. Michael set his phone on the counter, the photo of her and Tom at the cafe glaring from the screen. "Explain this," he said, his tone icy. Emily froze, her hands gripping the sponge. "I told you it was just coffee," she said, her voice trembling. Michael stepped closer. "You dated him in college. You've been meeting him behind my back. Don't insult me with half-truths." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but Michael pressed on. "Did you sleep with him?" Her head snapped up, shock flashing across her face. "No. God, no, Michael. It was a mistake to meet him, but it wasn't like that." Her words were desperate, but Michael saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. He didn't stop. "Then why hide it? Why lie about your meetings?" Emily's voice broke. "I didn't want to hurt you. We were just talking, catching up. It got out of hand." Michael's anger surged, but he kept it in check. "Out of hand how?" he demanded. Emily sank into a chair, her hands covering her face. "We kissed. Once. It was a stupid, impulsive moment. I stopped it, I swear." The confession hit Michael like a punch, his breath catching. He wanted to believe her, but the trust he'd clung to was crumbling. "You kissed him," he repeated, his voice hollow. Emily nodded, tears streaming. "I'm so sorry. It meant nothing." Michael's mind reeled. He needed one more piece of the puzzle. He called Kate, Tom's wife, and asked her to meet him at a neutral spot, a quiet park near their office. Kate arrived, her cheerful demeanor fading as she saw Michael's expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. Michael took a deep breath. "I think Tom and Emily have been seeing each other. They dated in college, and they've been meeting secretly." Kate's face went pale, her hands clutching her purse. "What? No, that can't be right." Michael showed her the cafe photo and recounted Emily's confession. Kate's eyes hardened, her voice sharp. "He told me he was over his ex, said it was ancient history." She paused, then added, "I deserve to know the truth, too." Kate agreed to confront Tom with Michael. They arranged to meet at a small diner that evening, a place where no one from work would overhear. Tom arrived first, his usual confidence replaced by unease. When Kate and Michael walked in, his face fell. Kate didn't wait. "Did you kiss Emily?" she asked, her voice cutting through the air. Tom's mouth opened, but no words came. He looked at Michael, then back at Kate. "It was a mistake," he finally said, his voice barely audible. "We got caught up in the past. It happened once, and we stopped." Kate's eyes blazed. "You lied to me. For weeks." Michael felt a strange mix of vindication and pain. Tom's admission confirmed his worst fears, but it didn't ease the ache in his chest. Michael spoke next, his voice steady despite the storm inside. "You betrayed me, Tom. And you betrayed Kate. We're done." He turned to Kate. "I'm telling our boss tomorrow. This can't go on." Kate nodded, her jaw tight. "I'm done, Tim." She stood, leaving Tom at the table, his head bowed. Michael followed her out, the weight of the confrontation settling over him. He had the truth now, but it came at cost. His marriage, his friendship, everything he'd built was unraveling. As he drove home, one thought anchored him. He wouldn't let this destroy him. He'd face Emily one last time and decide what came next. Michael Reed stood in the dim light of his Seattle townhouse, the weight of the past 24 hours pressing down on him. Tom's confession at the diner, admitting to the kiss with Emily, had ripped apart the last threads of trust Michael held. Kate's fury, her decision to end things with Tom, mirrored Michael's own resolve. He knew what he had to do with Emily, but the thought of dismantling their 7-year marriage felt like tearing out a piece of himself. Still, the truth demanded action, and Michael wasn't one to shy away from hard choices. He returned home to find Emily sitting on the couch, her eyes red from crying. She stood as he entered, her voice shaky. "Michael, please, let's talk." He held up a hand, his expression unyielding. "You had your chance to talk. Now it's my turn." He recounted the diner confrontation, watching her face crumple as he revealed Tom's admission. "You kissed him. You lied to me. For weeks." Emily sobbed, her words tumbling out. "It was a mistake, Michael. I was confused, caught up in old memories. I love you. I want to fix this." Her pleas were raw, but they couldn't erase the betrayal. Michael's voice stayed calm, but his words cut deep. "You chose to hide it. That's not love. That's cowardice." Michael didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He pulled out a suitcase from the closet and began packing Emily's things. Her books, her favorite scarf, the small keepsakes from their years together. Each item felt like a memory he was forcing himself to let go. Emily followed him, begging, "Don't do this. We can go to counseling, start over." Michael paused, looking at her. "You broke us, Emily. I can't live wondering what else you're hiding." He zipped the suitcase shut and called a taxi. Before she left, he had one final demand. "Call Kate. Tell her everything. She deserves to know from you." Trembling, Emily dialed Kate's number and put the call on speaker. Her voice broke as she spoke. "Kate, it's Emily. Tom and I dated in college. We met up recently, and we kissed. I'm so sorry." The line was silent for a moment. Then Kate's voice came through, cold and steady. "You both betrayed us. Don't contact me again." The call ended with a click. Emily's sobs filled the room, but Michael felt no urge to comfort her. When the taxi arrived, he carried the suitcase to the curb, his movements mechanical. "Go," he said, his voice final. Emily hesitated, tears streaming, then stepped into the car. The door closed, and she was gone. The next morning, Michael requested a meeting with his boss, Sarah, at Horizon Advertising. He laid out the situation with clinical precision. Tom's betrayal, the secret meetings, the kiss. "I can't work with him anymore," Michael said. Sarah listened, her expression a mix of shock and sympathy. "I understand. This violates our code of conduct. I'll handle it." By the end of the day, Tom was called into HR. His termination was swift, citing unprofessional behavior. Michael didn't feel triumph, only a hollow relief. Kate, too, took decisive action. She filed for divorce within days. Moving out of the home she shared with Tom. Michael heard through a mutual friend that she'd relocated to Portland, starting fresh. Emily tried reaching out to Michael a few times, leaving voicemails pleading for forgiveness, but he deleted them without listening. He blocked her number, cutting the final tie. Tom and Emily didn't reconnect, as far as Michael knew. Their brief lapse had shattered 2 marriages, leaving no room for reconciliation. Michael threw himself into work, channeling his energy into new campaigns. He joined a local basketball league, finding solace in the rhythm of the game. Slowly, he rebuilt his life, piece by piece. The pain of betrayal lingered, but no longer defined him. He'd trusted his instincts about Tom and Emily, and they'd led him astray, but they'd also guided him to the truth. As he walked through Seattle's bustling streets, the spring air crisp against his skin, Michael felt a quiet strength. He'd lost a friend, a wife, a life he thought was secure, but he'd gained something too. Clarity, the kind that only comes from facing the truth head-on.